primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast Super One. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
In today's episode 215 of Podcast Super One, youtube.com/@2for1studios. It's the best place to consume all the content. And if you didn't know, listeners, and let's be honest, you probably did not, we are sponsored by Kapow Comics, located at 4047 East Coast Avenue in Sherwood, Arkansas. There they have comic books, collectibles, graphic novels, and of course, special guest appearances throughout the year.
Kapow.
Daniel, it's 2:15, and we had a little game kind of sneak up on us, or at least it snuck up on me.
Yeah.
And it's called Star Wars Outlaws. And for those who you don't know, probably by the time you listen to this, it might be out.
It's out today.
Well, is it out today, or is it
Think
early
so.
access today? Okay,
No,
okay.
early access was like Tuesday.
Okay. Either way,
Yeah.
Star Wars Outlaws is out, and Daniel and I have our initial first impressions. And the first thing I want to do, open up with Daniel first, though, before we kind of talk about Outlaws, is what's your experience with Star Wars games, and just kind of, have you always loved them? Has there just been more miss than hit? And then kind of how is it setting up your expectation for Outlaws?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a very long relationship with Star Wars games. Star Wars games were some of the first games I played as a kid. My dad liked the Dark Forces. It was like basically a Doom-like, or yeah, that's probably what it was, like a Doom-like essentially. But it was Doom with a Star Wars skin, and so he played those. I got to play those too after he finished them. So started there, even played, what was it, like Rebel Alliance something, and it was like almost like a flash game. Like it was just like popping out of covers to shoot at people. It was super basic, and then played Star Wars Battlegrounds, which was the Age of Empires, like Star Wars version of Age of Empires. I don't know if you ever played any of those RTS games on PC. So played that a lot. I mean, Rogue Squadron or X-Wing, I guess, on 64, and then it was Rogue Squadron on GameCube. I mean, I feel like I've played most of them. I mean, KOTOR is one of my favorite games of all time. The second KOTOR is good too. Even maybe the lesser ones I've enjoyed, right? Unleashed, the Star Wars, the Unleashed games were, good, but maybe not exactly my cup of tea. And then, recently the Star Wars Survivor or Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order games have been excellent. So, I guess when I think about it, I actually have a pretty long history with Star Wars games. And I think that's probably true for a lot of people. I mean, like, one of the coolest things about games is pretending you're in a different world, pretending you are kind of making believe in a different reality. And one of the coolest realities people that love Star Wars, one of the coolest realities you could ever pretend to be in is Star Wars. You know what I mean? So there's just a natural, they just go together very well, gaming and Star Wars. And so yeah, I think I was excited for Outlaws coming into it. It's the first open world, like true open world Star Wars game that's ever been made, which is wild. As far as my expectations for it, I don't think my expectations weren't very high, but that was mainly because it was an Ubisoft game, and their kinds of games to me are just, they're kind of junk foody. You know what I mean? It's not going to wow you. It's not really going to just like, change the game in any way, but you're going to be able to get like, pretty consistent dopamine hits, with their gameplay and systems. So that's kind of how I am, how I was coming into this. What about you?
I mean, very similar. Honestly, thinking about it, overall, you might have played more Star Wars games than me. I think I started the first 5 minutes of KOTOR, but other than that, I think my beginning was, I mean, I did play Rogue Squadron for N64,
Sure.
but I mean, I played
Pod Racer.
mainly pod racing was my jam when
I
it
play
came
a lot
out in
of Pod Racer.
N64.
Yeah.
Of course, Force Unleashed, the Lego Star Wars games, those
Sure.
were really big into those. And of course, recently like you mentioned, the Jedi Fallen Order or
Yeah.
Survivor series. Um, of course, there's other ones I'm missing, but I maybe you probably in this area might outweigh me. But I agree with you. This is Star Wars, and it's always fun jumping into this world, this aesthetic. I played tons of Battlefront, also tons of
Oh
Battlefront
yeah,
2,
yeah, of course. I didn't
tons.
like Battlefront 2 nearly as much, but Battlefront 1, 2015. Oh, well, I mean, all
I'm
four
I'm
Battlefronts.
talking about the old school Battlefront 2. So
I
I'm
played
talking
those
about
too. I mean,
yeah,
dude, the Galaxy Conquest mode, which
yeah,
was like basically like a board game, but with video game elements almost like
yeah,
it was like you all I remember setting up like games with friends several times, like we're gonna do this big giant like we're gonna have to keep coming back and playing it, and like we never even like ever get far in it, but like
sure.
just the chance, like taking turns choosing which planet to attack. Do you attack orbit? Do you attack, like there was so much fun, like realism even in that. I love those games. But then yeah, the 2015 and 2017 versions from Dice were okay. I like the first one much better than the second one, but I still played them both quite a bit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I was really surprised by the announcement of this game and also just the release date of it. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, we just heard about this game like 3, 4 months ago, right?
I think it was announced at the end of last year or like the latter
Really?
half of last year. But it is
Okay.
still pretty. It
At least
wasn't
maybe
long
we didn't
between
see
the announcement
gameplay.
and yes, I think it probably is that. Yeah.
Maybe it's what it was primarily. Maybe it was on my radar until the most recent whatever showcase that was.
Yeah.
And when I first heard about it, open world Star Wars game, I know you foamed at the mouth, and I was kind of like,
Yeah.
But playing it the little bit I have now, I feel like it might be more tailored to me than it is
Mm,
to you.
mm,
But just getting into it. So my expectations were non-existent.
sure.
I remember seeing that trailer and being like, wow, this actually looks pretty well made. Like it looks like an actual AAA game. Like it looks
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
But I wasn't thrilled about the protagonist. Like just nothing there just grabbed me, and
Sure.
still nothing yet has. But we
Sure.
haven't really gotten super far into it, or I haven't. So I'm roughly 3 hours into it,
Okay.
and I think it's a good idea. So I would say to get I did the mechanic, but I keep so far every 5, 10 minutes something new is introduced. So I
Sure.
still feel like I have another 2 to 3 hours before I really like, do I really like this game or not?
Sure.
Um, but overall, so far, I do. I love I even like the aspect ratio. Like I love when games do
Okay.
that.
I
I think
changed it. I
that
couldn't handle it.
no, see, I love it. And I think it's even great when especially like Star Wars. Like it's supposed to be
I had a
that,
feeling you would like that part. Yeah.
I kept it. I didn't know you could change it, honestly, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to change it.
I know you are. Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
yeah,
It
so
just feels like I'm missing so much screen real estate because it was back. It's like 21 by 9, so
yeah,
it's like ultra wide.
I love it.
It's yeah.
Yeah. I wish it was just like a slit across the screen and I had to like look like this play it, incredible. But I will say this,
I
here's
do
what
though, for like people that have like ultra wide PC monitors. I bet it's
sure.
like amazing. Like
I bet it's pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I bet it's really cool. But just even like opening on the Canto Bite, which
yeah.
I was really surprised about because I feel like
Sure.
that's because of the movie it's in, it doesn't get a lot of good rap.
Right.
And it is a horrible sequence, in
Right.
that movie.
Yes. Yes.
But one thing I found myself, which I think is the beauty of a open world kind of game, is I probably spent 30 minutes last night just playing this fucking arcade game, trying to get the high score. And I
That's
did
great.
it, and like at one point, I was like seeing double. It's like this F-Zero GX, like really fast
Yeah. Yeah.
paced
Yeah. Yeah.
racer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I said, Kimberly, watch this, and she was watching me do it. And she was like, I don't even know, I can't even keep up with it, like not playing it. And it's fast, but
Yeah.
I finally spent 30, maybe 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, and 11:30 last night. I was just like, yeah, I did, I did it. And then
Yeah.
I was like, well, I spent 45 minutes playing a fucking arcade game. And
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this that in 5 minutes of the game, which is
Yeah.
kind of the beauty of stumbling upon stuff and then doing
Yeah.
it. I played a card game for 20 minutes today,
Sabacc.
Sabacc,
Yeah.
trying to learn it and
I'm
understand
good at
it.
Sabacc, man. I've only lost like 3 matches, and I've played probably like 9 or 10 at this point. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
which I think that's the same
it's fun.
card game they're playing in solo,
Yes,
right?
Sabacc is the
Yeah,
one they're talking about in Solo. Yeah, in
which is
in
why
the
it's
original
called
Star Wars,
Castle.
that's when they're talking about like Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon from Lando in a game of Sabacc.
Yes.
That's the game they were playing. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, just the atmosphere of it so far, I'm really digging,
Yeah.
and I can get more into it, but I kind of want your general thoughts as well.
Yeah. So I'm really, really enjoying it. I think it's surprising me how much I'm enjoying it because I think you're right. There are elements of it that are not my ideal choice in terms of, you know, you are a predetermined character. You don't get to create your own character and kind of customize it in that way. There is some progression. There is some like, you know, getting upgrades for your blaster and like getting new abilities that like help you sneak better or do things like that. But it's not like an RPG in that like there's progression trees. No, you just like get the things that make you better and just become progressively better. There's no options kind of like, oh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
become this kind of smuggler. No, this kind. And like if this was my game, if I was making it, that's how I probably would the direction I would have gone, just because that's what I want. But you know, in I guess in a similar way to Red Dead Redemption, I'm really enjoying just being immersed in this world, in all of these worlds, the multiple worlds you can go to, and I'm having a fine time, like kind of playing that as Kves. Like I'm not, I don't think she is like a showstopper, but I also don't feel like anything about her is getting in the way of me kind of getting to role play and be in this world and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think it is so immersive. It is so fun to just walk around in all the planets, and you'll I think you'll even feel that more once you're like in the tutorial area, but like you'll eventually get to kind of the first real planet, and you kind of get like your speeder bike, and you're just
Yeah,
kind of
I'm there. I'm
okay.
definitely there.
Okay, it's
Yeah, so,
Ashara.
yeah, so I'm
Okay,
working. I'm on the first Pike mission right now.
okay, okay,
So
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
I'm sneaking around the Pike area or trying
Sure.
to get into Gorak's lair is where I'm at right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
yeah.
So. Um.
But
Anyway,
let's,
so I mean,
but no, let's kind of dive into that. So
yeah.
one thing that surprised me that I think you kind of may have mentioned or touched upon was like I was surprised by like kind of the uncharted elements of like
Yeah.
of traversal and like climbing, and then even getting the speeder bike, and you're like, oh, this is really fun. This going through here, and all of a sudden you're a group of bounty hunters
Yeah.
or come in and start shooting you, and I was like, this is actually really fun, and like
Cool.
it's surprising me a
Yeah.
lot.
No, I
Yeah,
agree. And like I love the way you pick up like quests and missions in this and like that it's not like you know a typical Ubisoft game would just have a map with all these little things to do it on it everywhere and you just go to it and then you figure out what it is. And this, like the way you pick up missions is you like listen in on things. Like if you're in a cantina, sometimes it'll give you a prompt to listen and you like lean on the bar and look over and you're hearing these people talk about a
yeah,
mission that went bad and the stash is over here. And it's like in that way, it's even feels very immersive, right? Like, and it's really cool to like hear that and then you have it on your map and then you go check it out and you get whatever. And I think like, you know, the story in of itself isn't like, you know, just like, you know, it's not Red Dead Redemption. You know what I mean?
sure.
It's not that level, but to a degree, it doesn't bother me because I'm getting to just be in this Star Wars world and go wherever I want and do whatever I want and upgrade my character and one thing that I really love and one thing that is I think really cool about this game that makes it different is the faction system, is the reputation
Really
system you
cool.
have with these different factions. And I've been having a lot of fun. Like I got the Crimson Dawn reputation all the way to X. I got to the highest one for a little while. And like, because of that, I got like to buy extra like good equipment from them that like clothing that gave me like really good bonuses, but you had to be like top reputation to even have access to that from the vendor. And, you know, so there's all these incentives to play, to go back and forth, to like get each one up one, you know, almost one at a time and get
Yeah.
everything you can out of it. But like, it makes the game harder when like, I don't know if you've gotten a faction like in the bad zone yet where they like actively
No.
dislike, it's like shoot on sight is what
Yeah.
it is. And it's like it makes the game hard, you know what I mean? Like when you get to that. And so like there's a really fun dynamic of, you know, like kind of a loop of like going on missions and like deciding which faction I want to took a mission for. And then oftentimes what happens is like the key point of that mission, you'll get a chance to double cross them. You can choose to be like, actually, I'm gonna double cross the huts and I'm gonna go do this for the pike. And so there's like lots of points where you really get to choose like who do you want to like do work for? How do you want to change the reputation? Like, and it really changes like just how the game operates. Like, there's been missions where it's been like, um, the Pikes want me to go set up a spy device for the Crimson Dawn or on the Crimson Dawn base. And since I'm like liked by the Crimson Dawn, I just walk in there and do it. They don't care. And it's like, that's awesome. There's like really cool benefits to like playing that system and stuff where if they didn't like me, I would have had to sneak through there. I would have to shoot them all. Like it would have like, been a violent whatever. And so like there is a really cool element to that is just like it's fun to play around in, and because it's Star Wars, it just makes it. It's like everything is better if it's Star Wars. Almost like I know this system is like still. I know I'm like picking up like random bullshit loot that upgrades this or that, but it's cooler because it's Star Wars.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think I haven't really got to dive into that system yet of like the different factions, but from what I understand too is like yeah, like it goes back and forth, right? You can like make these people happy and these people sad.
Yep.
And I'm thinking already that I'm going to try to weave right in between it. Like everyone is neutral on me almost, but like they're not like trying to kill me, but they're not like in love with
that's
me.
where you start. You start at that. My goal right now is I'm going to see if I can get everyone to good, like where everyone likes me
At the same
in general.
time.
Yeah,
That'd be
that's
kinda hard.
I know. I'm like, will the game allow me to do that?
Yeah.
Because there are missions you can take for them that aren't against another faction. You can take a Crimson Dawn quest that isn't attacking the Pikes. And even if you do that, it's like if the Crimson Dawn wants you to go do something against the Pikes, if you do it sneakily, they never know you're there. So you don't lose reputation. So I think it is possible. It's just like hard mode, maybe.
Well, my question is, do you think my impression is no, but do you think there's going to be multiple endings?
I don't think so. No,
I
I
don't
don't. I
either.
don't. I don't think this is that kind of thing. I think it's kind of like, again, it kind of reminds me of Red Dead Redemption, where like you've got this open world, you've got these like systems and these things that you can play with, and the factions and upgrades and all this stuff, and then you got the main quest, and those are mostly like Uncharted missions. Like just kind of linear. Oftentimes, sometimes the production value is pretty good, actually, I think, on it. Like where you're like, things are exploding or you're sliding or like, there's been some cool missions, I feel like. But yeah, I don't imagine that it would be. I think it's just kind of it's a linear, it's essentially, it's a heist plot. You're eventually you'll get to a point where you're building a team, and
Gotcha.
you're building a team to go pull off a heist, which is cool. I mean, like, I said going into this that like I think I said maybe on the pod that like, it's a Star Wars game, but you don't have a lightsaber, and that's that's a downer or whatever. But like there is something nice about this is just all about the underbellies. This is all about the cantinas. This is all about the smugglers. This is all about the gross, dark corners of the Star Wars universe, which in my opinion are sometimes like the most interesting parts of the Star Wars universe. And so
well,
like, I don't know, there's just, I'm not, I still play this and I'm like, man, the ultimate game, the best game I ever play in my life could be like a perfect Star Wars open world RPG in some like The Witcher 3, but you're a Jedi. You know what I mean? But like, there's still like playing this gives me a taste of what that might be someday, and that makes me even like want it more. But I'm able to enjoy this for what it is, and I'm enjoying being a smuggler. I'm enjoying, exploring and that side of the Star Wars universe.
well, I'm 3 hours in, and I had a conversation with Matt about this as well because we were just replaying Jedi Survivor, and I take it back. I think I'm wrong. I'm 3 hours in, and I'm glad there are no lightsabers in this. And I think also when you throw in lightsabers, it obviously changes the combat in a huge way, but it changes your encounters and it changes the way the environment of the world is laid out as well.
Yeah.
And then now that like we're just have blasters, if the world feels tighter, like it feels like it's more caravans and like things to walk around and hide behind, and obviously it's a stealth game too, which I'm still working my way through the stealth aspect of it all.
Yeah.
I'm more of a run and gun kind of guy. But because
Which
that
is
Star Wars
usually an option.
feels
There are some missions where you can't,
okay.
but yeah.
Well, it feels like this feels almost the world feels more like Star Wars to me than the Jedi games because it feels more claustrophobic, like a movie set almost.
Well, I do think that like the world to me, I love Survivor. I love Fallen Order. And I like that Survivor kind of had a hub area that built up, that there was NPCs. But like these worlds feel really alive and dense. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like it feels like walking through a movie. You know what I mean? In a Star Wars movie. And I think there's something about that that is just like kind of intoxicating. Just like I can really find myself just watching things happen sometimes or just listening in on conversations and things like that.
yeah,
Um, yeah, you know, it's interesting that like um, when you involve Jedi, when you involve the Force, there's also this element that you have to get kind of like moralistic to a degree. Like it has to be about kind of good and evil. You know what I mean? And it kind of has to
sure,
be amount. And this feels so much more like no, it's about money. You know what I mean? And like I like that.
yeah,
There's something enjoyable about that too. Playing that kind of character in a Star Wars universe, like feeling like who I am justifies me double crossing people sometimes, or like doing
for
things that
sure.
just benefit me. And there's,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
I was,
Yeah,
I'm in the camp, where if I'm playing like a Star Wars game, it's a Jedi involved. I always pick the good version of it. Like I don't ever do anything bad. I don't like that, whatever.
right.
But even just in this game, where it's like when you pick something up, it says to steal it. So
Yeah,
you're
like
already
stealing everything.
yeah, you're stealing things. You can get cheats for the Sabacc game to
Yeah.
cheat people.
Yep.
I remember walking into this building and this guy was like selling me this, like, hey, do you want to get this VIP thing? And I was like, I don't really know how much things cost yet in the game.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, sure. And I did it. It took a good chunk of my stuff. And I walked in there, they were like, yeah, you just got ripped off. And I went back out there I went back out there to confront the guy and he was
Yeah.
like already gone. And she's like, of course he's gone.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, you know what, respect though. Like I'm in this world and I'm like a newbie and I just
Yeah.
got pwned by an NPC, like, in that world. So I
Yeah.
actually
It's
I liked being conned actually.
yeah.
So yeah,
It feels like the world's like the game's treating you a lesson. Like you don't know who you can trust in this world. You know, right off the bat.
100%. Yeah,
Um,
100%. Yeah, and so I think that like what you mentioned earlier about leaning in and getting these side missions, I haven't experienced this yet, but the game is really going to live and die by the depth of the story of these side missions. Of
mm,
like, are you learning something about the world? Are you learning something about these people involved in the side mission? If they're just random tasks that are whatever, those might get old kind of quickly.
sure.
Because so far, it feels like I got one flashback as so far with this character,
Yeah.
and
Me too.
I
And
know
I've
there's
played
going to be
quite a few hours.
okay, so there's going
So
to be some more of that, and um, I don't know. I'm hoping that the narrative is there to support so far a pretty decent gameplay experience.
yeah, no, I agree. And I think, I'm still playing I just did a side mission that involved a legacy character that was pretty cool. I actually liked it.
Mhm.
I don't and there has definitely been some elements of like, this is set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which is in a kind of interesting time too. It's like we don't always get stuff set in between those two movies. It's kind of like
Sure.
the Empire's still there, but they have lost one Death Star, so they're a little bit, they got their, eye bruised, but so there's like, yeah, anyway. But
Yep.
there's been elements of, Rebel Empire stuff, and then, being on some planets and the Empire is like, starting to control some of the syndicate gangs or whatever. And so there definitely, I've definitely already got a lot of, and I think you'll get to it too. Like you have to end up sneaking into some Imperial bases and stuff like that. There is definitely a lot of the like showing how shitty the Empire is kind of stuff in it, even to this, like even the smugglers hate the Empire kind of stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Which has been interesting. I haven't gotten to any like, that have been like really personal yet, but I also feel like I've mainly been running around like trying to upgrade stuff. I will say that too. The game is actually like can be punishing. Like you can like on missions, if you go loud in some areas, it's gonna be a hard fight. Like you know what I mean? Like like especially in Imperial bases, they'll end up sending death troopers in if you get caught and then they raise the alarm and then you don't shut it down in time, or they don't, if you're like continuing to fight, they'll just eventually call death troopers in to fight. And so it's like there is like it can be hard. And I think to, you know, that to get into the gameplay a little bit, I do think one of the weaknesses is maybe some of the stealth in combat. It's not as tight as you'd want it to be, maybe. You know what I mean? I don't think it's like problematic where it's not like it's like, oh, this is a chore necessarily, but it isn't something that's like, oh, I'm looking for combat all the time just because it's fun to play.
Yeah.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
not loving the stealth so far just because I
And
keep
this,
getting caught and like it's just not my gameplay style. So
yeah, and I think, you know, the what's his name, your little pet friend, Nyx. He is
yeah.
he's cute, and I think I'm starting to learn how to better use him to distract
Yeah.
people, to go turn things on and things off, and like I'm starting to learn kind of the systems that are at play for stealth and starting to do it better. But it's not the best. You know, it doesn't feel like a Splinter Cell or like a game that like
Right.
even, you
Metal
know,
Gear.
yes, right. It does not have like that to it. And, you know, again, it's one of those things where like I'm noticing that, I'm feeling that to a degree, but it's not bothering me as much as I thought it might. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where it's like, you really can't. If you just do certain things right with a Star Wars IP, you can paper over a lot of cracks that I will accept. I'm
Yeah.
learning, you know what I mean? You just, you know, if you get the music right, which I think the music's been great, just the sound design in general, it sounds awesome to walk through your
Yeah.
ship, to walk through the all the different areas of the city. And yeah, I think, you know, it's really fun to go speeding away on your speeder bike and then coming across some Imperials or smugglers try to take you down, or, you know, you're not good with the pikes and you accidentally cross into pike territory and you didn't realize it, so now they're chasing. You know, it's like there is a lot of just like dynamic gameplay that you're just like, I'm just going to just do shit in the Star Wars universe. And like, it's weird to me. This is the first time I've ever been able to like do this like that. It just is kind of, it just feels like this was such an obvious thing to do like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
when
I
open
do
world became a
I
thing.
do feel like I haven't scratched the surface quite yet. So I think I need like another 3-4 hours, which
Sure.
the game, from what I understand, is only 17, 18 hours to beat like the main narrative.
I think that's
Um,
mainlining the story, because
It
like
is.
I'm already like
It is.
10 hours in from a
Oh,
couple
wow.
nights of playing. I stayed up too late.
Wow. Okay.
And so I still haven't. I've only gotten like one of the team. You know what I mean? I haven't. I've visited Akiva, which is like a jungle planet, and I've visited Kajimi, which is like an ice planet, but there's not
Mhm.
really open world exploration. It's just a city, so it's not as much to do there. But I haven't even gone to Tatooine yet, which is, you know, it's Tatooine, whatever. But it'll still be a big fun place to go ride your speeder bike, you know, around Tatooine and go
Definitely.
shoot,
Definitely.
you know, sand
some
people
Jawas.
and you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So like, you know, to me, I'm like, to me, this is probably going to be a 40 or 50 hour experience, but that's just because I'm playing it the way I'm playing it, which is just very much go get lost, go watch stuff, go, you know, collect stuff to upgrade stuff. I'm not like trying to get through it quickly, I guess.
Yeah. I saw a few articles saying that the best way to play it is to go slowly, like to absorb the world, to be a character in the world, those kind of things. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try to beat it, of course.
Yeah.
And so far I'm really enjoying it, and we've been lucky, I think, with our last couple Star Wars games where they're all pretty good. You know,
This one's interesting because it's really gotten some. It's got mostly sevens, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
across the board. But like even like Kind of Funny hated it. They gave it like a 4.
Really?
You know what I mean?
What?
Like I know, which is very surprising to me. And like, and then there's been a lot of people that like, I mean, like a lot of like even just the YouTube reviews have been mostly like more negative than positive. And so it's been a little bit of a like just like you know how things are on the internet. If certain people decide something is bad, there's no nuance, you know. So there's like lots of like
Sure.
it's a trash game, you know, blah blah blah. But there is a lot of people that are like us, I think, we're just like, I don't know, I'm having fun. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not perfect and I can see the issues, but I keep having fun, so I guess I'm gonna keep playing.
Well,
So
you seem like you've put a lot of time into it, so maybe in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll both have beat it. We can
Yeah.
revisit it and like what's our overall thoughts and that we put in time to it. Because there's like even as far as like $130 addition to this game, and
Yeah.
I'm curious as to at the end of it, we'll be like, was this worth it or not worth it? So
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, I think there is a season pass, so there's like more content coming. I think they've like promised at least one like DLC, big, rather larger DLC. I'm curious what that would mean. Is that like a new planet and like a new quests are added to the game with maybe like a new faction or two?
mm,
Who knows? I'm curious how they will support the game, which I think again, I'm like, the discourse online has been pretty divisive. There's just kind of strong opinions on both sides of it. I wonder what the sales will be like. Typically, if you put Star Wars on something, it just sells more than
yeah.
something without it. Like,
Even the games that have done poorly review wise, like Battlefront 2 or whatever, they've
yeah,
sold gangbusters.
right. And so I think it will probably do well. Even, it is kind of it's a pretty easy game to get into. I feel like the barrier for entry is pretty low. It's very much that like Uncharted style, or even like a little bit of Assassin's Creed style gameplay. Um, and so like I think it'll be very accessible to a lot of people. You know what I mean? And like,
Hmm.
um, I think it'll like I think it will be interesting to see what like the discourse is in like 6 months. Like after
Yeah,
people have played it a while, after the kind of hubbub over the reviews is done, and just kind of like you know, the people that have loved this, do they still love it? You know what I mean? Because there is, I recognize that like with any new game, there is always like a shininess to it, just being new, that can sometimes cloud opinion. You know what I mean? And so, will that shininess wear off, or will it, is what this game does really well enough to keep the people, satisfied? Um,
yeah,
I mean, I think it's at the end of the day, it's like I like open world kind of junk food games. Sometimes that's what I want to do. Sometimes I do jump into an Assassin's Creed just to like turn my mind off and go play some like decently fun gameplay and upgrade my shit, just kind of like, have something to do. Um, but like, man, like if I get to do that, but in a Star Wars world, that's just like twice as good you know what I mean? Like it's just like, it's, I don't know. The fact that I've got kind of a Star Wars junk food game that kind of hits those right areas is like, do I want Red Dead Redemption in space with a Jedi? Yes. I want like, an Academy Award winning script, 80-hour, action adventure Star Wars Jedi game. Absolutely. But I'm really like having this kind of Star Wars game too. You know what I mean? Like it's weird that I coming into it again, I felt like I would feel like, oh, but it's not this, but it doesn't have that. And it's just like I'm finding myself able to accept it on what its terms are and just having fun. So
I'm surprised by that. Just
me
because
too.
again, it felt more linear than, at least so far it feels linear compared to what I think you were expecting. But maybe I haven't dived too far into it, which I will. Um, how can our listeners write into us, Daniel?
Listeners, you can write into bit.ly/241mail and let us know what you think of Star Wars Outlaws. I know there's a lot of opinions, some of them hot blooded out there. Do you have one? Let us know. bit.ly/241mail.
That was a nice, sexy, short podcast, and we don't do those very often anymore. And I like the tightness of it. But if
Mm-hmm.
you can't reach us in our comment section below, you can always find us in the YouTube section, youtube.com/@241studios.
The
Again, it's the
YouTube
best place,
section of the
the YouTube
internet.
section of the internet, in the comment section of the YouTube. I'm really tired, by the way. youtube.com/@241studios. It's the best place to consume all the content.
It
I've already
was a
talked
really
about it.
tight podcast. It was.
It
I
was, and
honestly,
now everyone
I
knows I'm
I
tired.
I made it worse because no one would have noticed it if I had pointed it
No
out.
one would have cared, but now everyone does. Anyway, I'm glad we both enjoyed it so far, and I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to maybe touching base on it and seeing where our ultimate thoughts are. And I'm also
Yes.
excited for last question I'll have for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you plan on watching Rings of Power season 2?
I don't think so. I
Really?
don't
Wow, you're
think so.
done.
I don't.
You're done.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Wow.
me and my wife and I are actually watching Mad Men right now. We're like in the early part of season 3. She's never seen it, so and I haven't seen it in a long time. So I mean, it's like, why would I be like, hey, let's watch a show that's not even a tenth as good as this tonight? You want to go
Everyone
like,
says it's better this season, by the way.
okay,
also-
I've seen some reports that say basically like if you like season 1, you like season 2, but not if
Sure.
you don't. It's not going to win you over.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I watched all of Mad Men except the last 6 episodes. That
You just
tells
haven't
something.
seen the last 6 episodes?
I have not. No.
Because it's like an
Okay.
A-B of like, there was like 2 parts to the last season, I
No,
think.
no, it's because I was watching it with Katie and
Oh.
we ended up breaking up. Then so I never went back to watch it. So I got close. And I've watched the first couple seasons multiple times. But me and Kimberly, different cut name, we have like 3 episodes left in season 3 of Hacks. And so
Okay. The most recent season.
Yep.
It's good, man.
So
It's good.
it's great.
I
love it.
Again, as
like I
a
told you before,
there's a lot of like fun stuff if you're kind of tuned into Hollywood business
yes,
stuff.
yes.
You know, there's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff that feels like you get an extra layer of kind of enjoyment.
Lots of smart writing in there. And like I said before, I watched season 1 and the first half of 2 as it was airing, coming
Yeah.
out. And then I dropped off. But I'm glad to come back and rewatch it all. And it's a really great show with just great characters and everything, really.
The
So
writing and acting is superb. It really is.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, my name is Donovan Thompson,
I'm Daniel Wingfield.
and we have spoken.